The galaxy had forgotten what fear felt like. For centuries, the great alien civilizations ruled the stars without challenge. To them, power was something born, not earned. And in their eyes, humanity was a mistake. A fragile race from a violent little planet that had somehow crawled into space. They called humans Deathworlders because Earth was a planet filled with danger, storms, predators, and endless struggle. But even that name became a joke among the alien elites. They said, "A Deathworlder? Ha! More like desperate animals playing with stolen fire." Every alien council, every imperial meeting, had the same smug laughter whenever Earth's name was mentioned. The mockery reached its peak during the Galactic Summit on Varnus Prime. Representatives from 100 species gathered in a shining hall of crystal and gold, and there, in front of millions watching across the galaxy, the alien ambassador of the Dravic Empire made his speech. He pointed at a hologram of Earth, small, blue, beautiful, and sneered. "This is humanity," he said. "A species that poisons its own air, fights its own kind, and calls itself civilized. They send their little ships into space like children throwing stones at the sky." Laughter filled the chamber. Even the translators added mocking tones to the words. Every alien broadcast echoed with the same message. Humanity is weak. Humanity is foolish. Humanity will never rise. But among the crowd, one human delegate sat quietly, a woman named Commander Rhea Solon. Her eyes did not blink. Her hands did not tremble. She simply watched, listened, and smiled a very small, cold smile. When the laughter faded, she stood. "Is that all?" she asked softly. The alien crowd fell silent, surprised that a human dared to speak. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "You mock what you do not understand. You speak of war as if you invented it. You call us violent, yet it was you who burned worlds for profit. You call us weak, yet we survived what your kind never could. A planet that tried to kill us every single day." The hall went still. The Dravic ambassador laughed again, louder this time. "Empty words from a dying world," he said. "Perhaps you should go back to your little blue rock before someone decides to crush it." Commander Rhea didn't respond. She just looked at him, long and cold, then turned and walked out of the chamber without another word. The camera drones followed her until the doors closed behind her. And for the first time in years, the galaxy saw something unsettling in human eyes. Not anger, but patience. Weeks passed. Alien news networks replayed the moment endlessly, mocking her bravery and calling it human pride before extinction. Memes spread through the galactic net. Children in alien schools laughed at holograms showing humans crawling on all fours. To the rest of the galaxy, it was entertainment. But deep inside human space, far from alien eyes, something had begun to move. In orbit around Mars, a silent fleet gathered. Old shipyards that once built cargo haulers now forged warships. Engines burned red across the void. Messages were sent in coded bursts, awakening long-hidden defense stations. Across the colonies, Deathworlders began to disappear from public life. Engineers, pilots, soldiers. They were going somewhere, preparing for something. The alien governments noticed the silence, but they laughed it off. They said, "The humans are sulking. Let them play with their toys." But one Dravic admiral wasn't laughing. He had fought humans once, long ago, during a border skirmish that the council had erased from the records. He still remembered the look in their eyes. "They don't roar when they're angry," he warned. "They whisper. And when they whisper, worlds burn." His warning was ignored. Then one night, a transmission echoed through every human system. It was Commander Rhea's voice, calm and measured. "Let them mock," she said. "They think our silence means fear. They will learn that it means focus. For every insult, we forge a weapon. For every laugh, we sharpen our aim. The time for words is over." In the darkness of space, 1,000 ships came online, their engines glowing like red eyes in the night. The stars themselves seemed to tremble. Meanwhile, on Varnus Prime, the Dravic ambassador prepared for another speech. He didn't notice that several alien monitoring stations near human borders had gone dark. He didn't notice that human colonies had stopped responding to trade requests. And he didn't notice the small, faint signal that blinked through the galactic comm grid, a signal only humans could recognize. It was an ancient word, older than the stars themselves. It simply read, Ready. The galaxy laughed once more, not knowing that their laughter would soon be drowned by the thunder of human cannons. They had mocked the Deathworlders for the last time, and somewhere deep in the void, the human fleet waited, silent, patient, and burning with fire, because humanity had a rule written in their blood: never mistake kindness for weakness. And soon, the galaxy would understand what those words truly meant. The stars above Mars glowed red as the great shipyards came alive. Hundreds of vessels floated in silence, like shadows against the void. No one outside human space knew what was happening, not even the traders who once supplied the colonies. All communication with the outside world had stopped. Earth had gone silent, but silence from Deathworlders was never peace. It was warning. Commander Rhea Solon stood inside the orbital command station Vigilance, watching as her fleet slowly took shape. Through the giant observation window, she could see the steel skeletons of warships being completed by swarms of worker drones. Engines flickered to life, weapon turrets rotated for the first time, and human soldiers walked the decks like ghosts of war. Admiral Varen, an old soldier from the Titan campaign, approached her. "Fleet readiness is at 68%, he reported. "The outer colonies are sending reinforcements. Even Luna Base has reactivated the old destroyers." Rhea nodded without turning her eyes from the stars. "And the new plasma cores? Stable. More powerful than anything the aliens have." "Good," she said quietly. "Then we'll finish this faster than they expect." On every Deathworlder colony, from the icy plains of Europa to the burning deserts of Proxima B, messages spread among the people. The time has come. Miners left their tunnels. Engineers abandoned civilian factories and began reprogramming them for war production. Scientists worked day and night, building new AI combat systems, quantum drives, and gravity shields. Every hand, every mind, every soul was united by one goal: make the galaxy regret its arrogance. There was no anger in them anymore. Only determination, the kind that makes humans unstoppable. Meanwhile, deep inside alien territory, rumors began to spread. Patrol fleets near human borders were disappearing without trace. First one, then two, then 6 ships vanished. The alien commanders blamed cosmic storms and navigation failures, but one transmission leaked to the public before the military could erase it. A recording filled with static, ending with a human voice whispering a single word: "Run." Panic began to crawl through the ranks of the arrogant alien alliance. Their leaders, however, refused to believe it. "The humans can't touch us," the Dravik Emperor declared before his council. "Their fleets are outdated. Their weapons are primitive. Let them bark in the dark." But not everyone agreed. Among them was General Karth Vora, an alien strategist known for surviving dozens of wars. He studied every human battle in history, from the old Earth Wars to the first contact skirmishes. And what he saw terrified him. He told the Emperor, "Humans don't fight like we do. They don't measure victory in territory. They fight until they win, or until there's nothing left." The Emperor laughed, waving his hand dismissively. "Then they'll learn what nothingness truly is." Back in the Sol system, the humans were preparing for that very lesson. At Earth's North Command, scientists ran simulations of alien tactics, analyzing every known fleet formation. AI strategists worked beside human admirals, predicting the enemy's responses with frightening accuracy. Across the moon's surface, massive cannons were installed, planetary railguns capable of piercing shields from light years away. And hidden in the asteroid belt, secret shipyards built something even more dangerous: the Vanguard, a new class of human battleship. Each one was nearly invisible to scanners. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy an entire fleet. And each one bore the same name painted across its hull: Retribution. Commander Rhea stood in the war room, surrounded by holographic maps of alien space. Her officers waited for her command. She looked at them. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, scientists, all of them tired, focused, and ready. "Decades ago," she began, "they laughed at us. They called us savages. They said we'd never rise beyond our small blue world." Her voice grew colder. "Well, we rose, and now we'll show them why they should have left us alone." A quiet murmur spread through the room. Not cheering, not shouting, just a shared, deadly calm. Every officer there understood. This was not about conquest. It was about respect. Far beyond the edge of known space, the first Deathworlder scouts crossed into alien territory. They moved like shadows, unseen, unheard. They planted hidden beacons and set traps among the stars. Every system they entered was quietly mapped and marked for future strikes. One scout captain, Elias Tran, sent a message back to Ria's command. Targets confirmed. Enemy movements predictable. They still think we're hiding. Ria's reply was short. Good, let them. The storm was coming. But to the galaxy, it still looked like peace. Alien traders laughed in spaceports. Alien children played with toy ships, pretending to destroy Earth. The Dravic Emperor planned a celebration to mark the humans' final surrender. No one saw the silent fleet massing beyond Mars, no. One heard the hum of the war engines powering up across the system. No one realized that the quiet hum of human space wasn't silence. It was a heartbeat before war. And when that heartbeat stopped, when the silence broke, the galaxy would remember the name of the species they had mocked, humanity, the Deathworlders. The ones who never forget. The night sky above Mars was quiet. Too quiet. The human fleet drifted in silence, engines cold, weapons armed but hidden. Only the faint glow of navigation lights shimmered against the red planet's surface. Inside the command bridge of the Vigilance, Commander Ria Solon stood before the massive viewing screen, her hands clasped behind her back. The room was tense. Everyone waited for her next words. At exactly 0200 galactic time, a transmission came through. It was from one of the forward scout ships positioned near the alien border. The voice was steady but sharp. Contact confirmed. Alien patrol fleet entering the outer rim. 6 heavy cruisers, 3 escorts. They don't know we're here. Ria's eyes narrowed. She looked to Admiral Varen. It's time, she said quietly. He gave a single nod. Across the fleet, red lights flared to life. Engines roared awake. Energy shields powered up and targeting systems locked onto distant stars. The first human offensive since the Galactic War had begun. In alien space, near the Dravic-controlled system of K-Tor, the arrogant alien fleet drifted lazily through the void. They were not expecting trouble. Humans had been silent for months, and silence to them meant surrender. The alien commander, Captain Vrel, leaned back in his chair, laughing with his officers. These humans must have learned their place, he said. Perhaps they finally realized who rules this galaxy. The bridge filled with laughter. Then the sensors screamed. Unknown contact, shouted an officer. Where? Everywhere around us. Before they could react, space itself seemed to twist. Out of the black, invisible until the last second, human warships appeared, shimmering like ghosts. The lead ship, Retribution 1, opened fire. A beam of blue plasma sliced through the nearest alien cruiser, cutting it in half before the crew even knew what hit them. The explosion lit up the void. Return fire. Return. The alien commander's words vanished as a missile barrage struck his ship head-on. The control deck erupted in flame. The rest of the alien fleet panicked. Their weapons systems struggled to lock onto the humans, but the Deathworlders were faster, sharper, and ruthless. Human ships darted between their formation, targeting engines, reactors, and command bridges. Every shot was precise. Every explosion, a message. Within 12 minutes, the once proud alien patrol fleet was gone. Nothing left but burning wrecks floating in silence. On the bridge of Vigilance, Admiral Varen exhaled slowly. Enemy fleet destroyed, Commander, he reported. Ria nodded. Record it. Send the footage to all human systems. And to the aliens? Varen asked. She smiled faintly. No, they'll find out soon enough. But one message did leave the ship. A short encrypted broadcast transmitted across the galaxy. 3 words. The hunt begins. When news of the attack reached alien space, disbelief turned to chaos. The Dravic Empire tried to hide the incident, claiming it was a pirate ambush. But civilian ships passing through the region recorded everything. The burning debris, the human symbols on the wreckage, the voice of a human commander saying, "Target neutralized." The video spread faster than light. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy trembled. The Deathworlders had struck first. While alien leaders argued in panic, humanity continued to move. In the asteroid belt, stealth bombers launched toward enemy trade routes. On the dark side of Luna, hidden railguns rotated toward alien listening posts. And deep inside Jupiter's orbit, a massive carrier called Iron Dawn activated its engines, carrying thousands of Deathworlder Marines trained for planetary invasion. There were no speeches, no celebrations, only quiet professional efficiency, the calm of a species that had accepted the cost of war. In alien high command, General Karth Vora slammed his fist against the table. "I warned you," he shouted. "You mocked them and now they are coming." The Dravik Emperor hissed in anger. "They are insects. We will crush them." Karth glared at him. "Then prepare to lose your empire, because insects from death worlds don't bite. They consume." The Emperor ignored him, ordering all fleets to move toward human borders. Thousands of ships began mobilizing, forming what the aliens proudly called the Cleansing Armada. But even as their fleets gathered, strange reports kept coming in. Supply ships missing, communication stations destroyed, colonies falling silent. Everywhere they looked, humans were already there. On the edge of the Milky Way, Commander Rhea stood again on the Bridge of Vigilance. Holographic maps showed red light spreading across the galaxy. Enemy systems marked for future strikes. Beside her, Admiral Varen smiled grimly. "They're moving their fleets. They think they're hunting us." Rhea's gaze hardened. "Good," she said. "Let them chase shadows. When they find us, it will already be too late." Aboard one of the human strike ships, a young pilot stared at the wreckage of the alien cruisers drifting in space. He whispered quietly, "They called us weak." His captain replied, "Without looking away from the stars, they won't make that mistake again." Back on Varnus Prime, the same world where the mockery had begun, the Dravik ambassador who once insulted humanity watched the hollow news in horror. Every channel was filled with burning ships, destroyed colonies, and one repeating broadcast, a human voice, calm and steady. "We offered peace. You chose arrogance. Now we choose fire." The ambassador felt his hands shake. He remembered Commander Rhea's eyes at the summit, cold, patient, and fearless, and now he understood. The Deathworlders had not been silent because they were afraid. They had been silent because they were ready. As human fleets disappeared back into the shadows of space, one thing became clear to the entire galaxy. This was not a skirmish. This was not a warning. This was the beginning of something far greater. A storm that would sweep through every arrogant empire that ever laughed at humanity. The first strike was over. The galaxy would never be the same again, because now, the Deathworlders were awake. The galaxy was burning with fear. Every news broadcast, every transmission, every data feed spoke of the same thing. The Deathworlders had returned. Alien empires that once mocked humanity now whispered in dark rooms, wondering who would be next. But arrogance dies slowly. And for the Dravik Empire, pride was more dangerous than truth. Inside the Dravik War Council chamber, the Emperor stood before his fleet commanders, his voice full of venom. "They dare strike us? They dare challenge the Empire?" He slammed his claws on the table. "They will be crushed. Every human world will burn until they beg for mercy." The hall erupted in agreement. Hundreds of alien admirals shouted, roared, and hissed, their pride blinding them from the danger they faced. Only General Karth Vora remained silent. He had seen the recordings of the first strike. He had seen how fast the humans moved, how their ships disappeared like ghosts, how their attacks were silent and perfect. He whispered to himself, "You can't crush what you can't find." But no one listened. Within days, the Dravik Empire launched the largest armada in galactic history. Thousands of warships, from tiny interceptors to massive dreadnoughts, gathered in formation near the edge of human space. They called it Operation Cleansing Light. The goal was simple: erase humanity forever. Alien reporters celebrated, broadcasting live from orbit. "The humans have overplayed their hand," one announcer said proudly. "The Deathworlders will finally be taught their place." But as the fleet advanced, something felt wrong. No human ships appeared. No defense forces engaged them. Space was empty, quiet, waiting. Admiral Karth, watching from his command ship, felt the hairs rise on his neck. "This silence," he muttered. "It's not surrender. It's strategy." Then it happened. As the alien armada entered the Sol system, their sensors began to flicker. Jamming signals appeared everywhere, coming from hundreds of small, hidden sources. The aliens tried to recalibrate, but their radar screens showed only static. Suddenly, one of the rear ships exploded. Then another. And another. Who fired? The alien admiral shouted. No one answered. The explosions came from all sides. It was chaos. Out of the darkness, massive human warships appeared, cloaked until the very last second. Their hulls shimmered black, absorbing enemy fire as their plasma cannons tore through the alien formation. The Vanguard fleet had arrived. In orbit around Earth, Commander Rhea Solon watched the battle unfold from the command deck of Vigilance. Her voice was calm and steady. "Target their engines first," she ordered. "Don't let them retreat." Admiral Varen nodded. Orders confirmed. "All batteries, fire!" The human fleet unleashed hell. Thousands of railgun slugs, plasma beams, and guided missiles filled the void, turning the stars into streaks of fire. Alien dreadnoughts shattered one by one. Their shields failed. Their systems overloaded, but still they tried to fight. Pride would not let them run. The Dravik Emperor himself appeared on the fleet's main transmission, shouting across the comms, "You think you can defeat the might of the Empire? You are nothing." Commander Rhea looked at his image coldly. Her response was simple. "Nothing can't destroy fleets." She gave the signal. Moments later, a massive orbital weapon, Project Helios, activated from behind Earth's moon. A blinding beam of energy cut through the Emperor's flagship, slicing it clean in half. The explosion was visible from every world in the solar system. Silence followed. The alien transmissions cut out one by one. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. The invincible Dravik Armada, destroyed in less than 3 hours. Their Emperor dead. Their fleets scattered. The galaxy was in shock. The proud species who had ruled for centuries had fallen, not to another empire, but to the humans they once mocked. In the ruins of the Dravik capital world, survivors hid among the burning cities. Human dropships descended from the sky, carrying Deathworlder Marines in dark armor. They moved through the ruins like ghosts, efficient, silent, unstoppable. They didn't kill the weak or the innocent. They brought food and medicine to those who surrendered. For the first time, the aliens saw the truth. Humanity didn't fight for destruction. They fought for respect. One Dravik child looked up at a human soldier and asked, trembling, "Why didn't you kill us?" The soldier knelt down, his voice calm. "Because that's what you would have done. We're not you." Meanwhile, on Vigilance, Rhea and her officers watched the aftermath through the observation window. Flames lit up alien space, but her eyes were distant. Not proud, not happy, only thoughtful. Admiral Varen approached her. "The galaxy will remember this day," he said. Rhea nodded slowly. "Yes," she replied, "but they'll remember for the wrong reasons. We didn't want war. We wanted peace, but they only understood strength." She turned to her crew. "Now they will listen. But we will never forget." The fall of the Dravik Empire became a warning to all others. All across the galaxy, ambassadors rushed to contact Earth, offering treaties, alliances, and apologies. Some begged for forgiveness. Others quietly prepared for revenge. But humanity didn't celebrate. They rebuilt. They learned. They watched. Because Commander Rhea knew the truth. Pride was like a disease. And somewhere out there, another empire was already planning to test humanity's patience again. But this time, the galaxy would think twice before laughing at the Deathworlders, because the fall of pride had begun. And once a Deathworlder stands, nothing in the stars can make them kneel again. The galaxy trembled. What started as a human counterattack had now become something far more terrifying. It was no longer just a war, it was a storm. A storm led by the Deathworlders. The alien alliance, once proud and unstoppable, had lost half of its outer fleets. Their arrogance had blinded them. They thought humans would fight like every other weak species, with fear, with hesitation. But they were wrong. Deathworlders didn't know fear. They had grown up on worlds where everything tried to kill them. Poisonous air, burning deserts, freezing storms. Deathworlders didn't surrender. They adapted. They survived, and now, they were coming. On the barren world of Tarsus 4, an alien command center stood in chaos. Screens flashed red. Sirens screamed warnings in every language of the Empire. "Human ships inbound. Sector 7 compromised," shouted a frightened officer. General Varlek of the Koran Empire slammed his claws on the table. Impossible. That sector was protected by 6 cruisers. But before anyone could respond, the lights flickered. The sound of thunder rolled through the sky. A massive explosion shook the ground and the control room went dark. When emergency lights came on, the aliens looked at the monitor. A shadow was moving through the smoke, fast, silent, and human. The Deathworlder Marines had landed. They didn't announce themselves. They didn't broadcast threats. They just moved, efficient, cold, and unstoppable. Every step was precise, every shot deliberate. They used strange weapons, energy rifles that cut through armor like paper, drones that followed hand gestures, and armor that shimmered in the dust. "Who are these monsters?" whispered an alien officer hiding behind a pillar. A Deathworlder soldier turned his visor toward the sound. He spoke through the radio, calm, emotionless. "Sector clear." Moments later, the alien officer was gone. Across dozens of planets, the same story repeated. Human fleets arrived not as conquerors, but as avengers. They didn't destroy cities. They destroyed symbols, the towers of arrogance, the ships that once mocked Earth, the leaders who had called humans insects. In orbit above Rax Prime, an alien broadcast begged for peace. "We surrender." "Stop the attack." "We surrender." But the human admiral refused to answer. Instead, a coded message appeared on every channel. "You mocked humanity. Now you face humanity." The alien commanders couldn't understand it. This wasn't revenge for pride. It was something deeper, personal. Every Deathworlder fought as if the pain of every insult still burned inside them. On board the human flagship, Valiant Dawn, Admiral Rhea watched the battle unfold. Her eyes were cold. She remembered the alien speech that had started it all, the one where the ambassador called humans a failed species. She remembered the laughter, the applause from alien crowds. Now the laughter was gone. Only silence filled the stars. "Status?" she asked quietly. 3 enemy worlds neutralized. Minimal civilian losses. "Our forces are advancing on the central command hub." "Good," Rhea said. "Make them remember who we are." On the alien capital, panic turned to despair. Refugees flooded the skies, trying to escape the advancing Deathworlders. Their once golden fleets were now burning wrecks across the void. A transmission appeared across the galactic network, an alien reporter trembling as she spoke. "We were wrong. They are not weak. They are not primitive. They are—" The signal cut off mid-sentence as a shockwave hit her city. Moments later, another broadcast came from the same channel, this time from a human soldier. "The age of arrogance is over." The galaxy began to whisper the same word. Deathworlders. A name spoken with both fear and respect. They weren't seen as invaders. They were seen as a force of nature. Wherever they went, they brought justice wrapped in fire. Even alien civilians began to speak out. Maybe they were right to fight back. Maybe we deserved this. One alien general, old and wise, sat in silence as reports came in. He watched the human fleets move in perfect coordination. No wasted shots, no unnecessary destruction. He finally muttered to himself, "They fight like they've done this before. As if war is in their blood." His aide looked at him confused. "But they are humans, sir. They are supposed to be peaceful." "Peaceful," the general whispered. "Yes, until you force them not to be." By the end of the 5th campaign week, the alien alliance was broken. Entire sectors went dark. Their commanders vanished or surrendered. The humans didn't occupy. They dismantled. Every oppressive structure that had mocked humanity was erased from existence. And then, they stopped. Admiral Rhea stood before her officers. "We've done enough," she said. "The message is clear." A young officer asked, "What if they come back?" Rhea smiled faintly. "Then they'll remember who they're dealing with." As the fleets returned home, the stars behind them glowed with the fires of fallen arrogance. The galaxy had learned a new rule. Never underestimate a Deathworlder, because when they rise, they don't just fight, they change the universe. The war had spread like fire across the stars. Dozens of alien worlds burned, their fleets shattered and their pride crushed. The Deathworlders had done what no one in the galaxy believed possible. They made the arrogant alien alliance kneel. But the war was not over yet. Deep in the dark void between galaxies, something massive was stirring. The alien overlord, Supreme Commander Varkon, watched the destruction of his empire from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was an old warlord, his scales cracked, his voice low and cold. But his pride, that still burned. To him, losing to humanity was not just defeat. It was humiliation. "They are nothing," he growled, slamming his clawed hand against the table. "Animals pretending to be soldiers." One of his advisors, trembling, spoke softly. "But my lord, the Deathworlders have destroyed 4 of our fleets. Their tactics—" "Silence!" Varkon roared. His eyes glowed with fury. "I will end this myself. Prepare the Doomsday Armada." Across alien space, the command went out. Thousands of ships began to move. Massive carriers, dreadnoughts, and planetary destroyers formed up under Varkon's banner. It was the largest fleet ever built. A dark storm ready to crush humanity once and for all. Alien propaganda filled the networks again. The end of Earth is near. The humans will kneel before true power. But on Earth there was no fear. Only silence and preparation. On board the human flagship Valiant Dawn, Admiral Rhea stood before a holographic display of the enemy fleet. Her officers stared in disbelief. "Over 12,000 ships detected," one of them said quietly. "It's their entire armada." Rhea didn't blink. "Then we end it here," she said. The room fell silent. Every officer looked at her. "Ma'am." "Mean?" "Yes, full activation of the Deathworlder Alliance. Every fleet, every world, every soldier. This is the final stand." Within hours, the call spread across human space, from the frozen moons of Titan to the burning deserts of Cora Prime. Soldiers prepared for war. Old veterans dusted off their rifles. New recruits looked up at the stars, knowing this was the moment history would remember. The Deathworlders didn't fight for conquest. They fought for respect, for every insult, every scar, every life lost in arrogance. As the alien armada approached the Sol system, the stars themselves seemed to dim. Alien ships blotted out the light, forming an endless shadow. The galaxy watched in silence through their networks. Billions tuned in, expecting to see humanity crushed at last. The alien commander's voice echoed across the frequencies. "Humans, you had your fun. Now face extinction." But before he could continue, another signal cut through, calm, cold, and human. "This is Admiral Rhea of the Deathworlder fleet. You mocked us once. You called us animals. Now you face the monsters you created." The battle began. The void erupted in light. Missiles streaked across space like falling stars. Laser fire painted the darkness red and gold. Alien dreadnoughts unleashed planet-killer weapons. Massive beams that could tear through continents. But humanity was ready. Hidden defense satellites awoke. Stealth cruisers appeared behind enemy lines, striking from the shadows. New plasma shields rippled across human ships, deflecting enemy fire. And then came the Deathworlder strike teams. Soldiers launched directly into space, wearing exosuits that let them fight in vacuum. They moved like ghosts, attaching to alien ships, cutting through hulls, planting charges, vanishing before anyone could stop them. Varkon watched from his command deck as his fleet started to fall apart. How are they everywhere?" he demanded. His aide whispered, terrified. "They fight like they can see every move before it happens." "They can't win," Varkon screamed. "They're just—" Before he could finish, a massive explosion rocked his flagship. The lights dimmed. On his main screen appeared a message, 3 words glowing red. "For humanity's honor." Varkon's jaw tightened. He bared his teeth. "So, they've come for me." Meanwhile, Admiral Rhea's fleet closed in. Her voice echoed across the communication channels. "Today, the galaxy watches. Let them see what Deathworlders truly are." Her ships formed up in perfect synchronization. Thousands of human vessels moved as one, like a single living creature made of steel and fire. And when they fired their main cannons, the blast lit up the system like a newborn sun. The alien dreadnoughts tried to counterattack, but their formations broke. Human torpedoes tore through their cores. Planetary defense ships, once symbols of fear, now burned in silence. Inside the Eternal Dominion, alarms screamed. Varkon's crew begged him to retreat, but he refused. "I will not run from these primitives," he snarled. Then a new transmission came in, visual feed. A Deathworlder strike team had breached his ship. They were walking down the halls, smoke and sparks around them. At their front was Captain Hale, a veteran of 100 battles, his armor scorched, his eyes cold. He opened a channel directly to Varkon. "You mocked our species," Hale said quietly. "You called us weak. You called us animals. You forgot one thing. Animals fight hardest when cornered." The camera feed cut out. Moments later, the alien flagship exploded. A blinding flash of light that could be seen from Mars. The battle was over. The Doomsday Armada was gone. The arrogant empire that once ruled the stars was finished. As silence returned to space, Admiral Rhea watched the fading light from her bridge. Her officers waited for orders. She spoke softly, her voice steady. "Transmit this message across the galaxy." The signal spread through every star system, every frequency, every world. "The Deathworlders have fought. The war is over. Let no empire forget this day. The day humanity answered arrogance with fire." Across the stars, the message echoed. Some aliens wept. Some bowed their heads. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood what humans truly were: survivors. And as the smoke of war faded into the night, humanity stood not as conquerors, but as a warning the war was over. The fire that had once consumed the stars now faded into silence. Wrecked ships floated across the black void, the broken remains of pride, arrogance, and power. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was quiet. No more battle cries, no more threats, only the distant hum of victory and loss. On board the human flagship Valiant Dawn, Admiral Rhea stood before the wide viewing window. The Earth glowed far below, blue and peaceful. Behind her, the command deck was silent. Officers worked quietly, their faces tired but proud. The Deathworlders had done the impossible. They had faced the largest armada in the galaxy and survived. They hadn't just defended their world. They had changed the balance of power forever. Rhea closed her eyes for a moment. The faces of those who had fallen appeared in her mind. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, men and women who had given everything. She whispered softly, "You mocked us. You thought we were weak. Now you will remember us." Across the galaxy, the message of Earth's victory spread like a storm. On alien worlds, massive screens showed the human flag rising above ruined battlefields. In once arrogant cities, alien citizens watched in silence as Deathworlder soldiers helped rebuild what their own leaders had destroyed. A broadcast played across the galactic network. Admiral Rhea's final transmission: "We do not seek conquest. We seek respect. Humanity will not rule the stars.